All right, guys, welcome to episode 3 of On the Bubble. Today we have Kevdog and Valkyrie. Kevdog, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, my name is Kevdog, and I am a Rocket League manager for Alter Ego, currently a average rank A team, and I've been managing for close to 5 years now.
Awesome. And what do you do, Valkyrie?
My name is Valk. I'm the current manager for Stockton University. I also currently manage Scuzz Esports, which is Air Sensei, and we're currently in the process of trying out Rank X thirds. But I've also managed Continuum, which was Aeon Astro and Spider, and also Aeon Astro and Kronovi. And I've been managing RLCS teams and started delving in coaching a little bit for about 4 years now.
Awesome. Well, I guess, how did you guys get your start? Kevdog, you want to start us off and just kind of talk about history of how you got in the scene and go from there?
I, I got into the scene a while ago, back when there was a bunch of organizations, grassroots organizations, having academy teams such as rank D teams, six man's wise, or C1 to C3. Um, Champion 1 to Champion 3. Back in like 2018, I used to work for a organization called Sway Esports. I did a lot of partnership management, event organization, and also the team management. I became the main team manager and also coach for Sway Esports while moving my way up the ranks to become eventually co-owner in 2020. And I worked with that organization for probably about 2 years. And I just went from there, working with whatever connections I can find and putting myself out there, trying to get the best possible outcome that I can.
Yeah. So, what all do you do as a manager?
As a manager, a lot of people think that it's mostly just scheduling scrims and talking to your own players, but it goes much deeper than that, actually. A lot of people have put a managers on the bench almost like as just, oh, you're just there to give the players what they want, but behind the scenes you do a lot more. You talk to organizations, make those connections, see if you are in an organization as well. Sometimes you have to talk to different organizations, see what sponsorships are also in the process of working with that organization. But overall, it is a lot of paperwork. Well, not paperwork, but it's a lot of business work. And truly, you have to be properly developed into the Rocket League scene in order to understand exactly if you're managing those higher ranked teams like rank A, rank X, and even like RLCS. You always have to be very developed into the scene to understand what you're getting yourself into instead of just going straight into it.
So for kind of the entry level managers, I guess you'd say for like rank C, lower rank B, for the most part, they're just scheduling scrims. But for you, once you reach those higher tiers, you're taking on the role of almost like an agent for the team.
Yeah, practically, you talk to a lot of organizations, business people. You always are trying to scout the best possible opportunity for that team because as you get to the higher levels, they have more reach, they have more prominence. And overall, a lot of organizations, if you're not a team signed to an organization, they're going to want a prominent team that will be able to give them good profit. And as the manager, you always have to work with your team, work with those players outside and inside the game to make sure their mental health is good and also just making sure that everyone is overall like staying safe, staying true to themselves and not making a fool of themselves, I really should say.
I mean, there's not really much a manager can do about that. If a player wants to go do what they want, they can. I mean,
Yeah.
we can certainly try to give them advice and tell them not to go do stupid things. But like, if players want to go do stupid things, it's kind of in their nature. But yeah,
Yeah. So, Valkyrie, what do you do? How did you get hooked up with one of the powerhouses of CRL?
it's a good question. Do I even know that answer? No, I do. So, basically, about around a year ago, I kind of was just looking into CRL schools, and I honestly talked to a couple. Like, I talked to Northwood. I mean, I knew what the stigma around Northwood was. Like, no disrespect to Northwood, but like, it's kind of like it feels like everyone kind of roots against Northwood in CRL because it's like everyone expects Northwood to win. So I was kind of just looking around, and Top Cheese, who is a player who I've known personally for like, or not personally, but I've known for like around 3 years. We've kind of just known each other in the scene. And he was like, Valk, you should definitely come to Stockton. We need a good manager. And I actually visited on my birthday. They had like an instant exceptions day, like on my birthday, and I was like, cool, that's hype. So I'm definitely going. But now that I'm here, I actually just moved in early and I'm doing a lot of stuff for the school, helping them with their esports program and helping develop and transition it into a more modern program. But I'm also doing a lot of stuff like Kevdog was talking about, and I do agree with him. I think managers as well can be really important in terms of team bonding and organizing team bonding. I think that's something that isn't really stressed enough, and also something that's not stressed enough is the mental health of some teams, because that's honestly so important at some crucial times. But at Stockton, there's a lot of really exciting things going on. There's a lot of really good players that are just coming in this year. I mean, this year we have 3 B+ level players that are coming in.
Nice. Can you go ahead and leak who those are, or is that
Yeah,
still? Yeah.
they're public knowledge. It's not a leak. So this upcoming year we have Warbean coming, who I mean he's not B+, but he's been ranked A before. He definitely can get B+. You know what? Trap I'm actually not going to talk about. He's 1-9. I'm 3-1 in rank B, so I'm hitting rank B+ before he is. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He's of course like an insane freestyler. If you guys don't know who Paul's Trap is, he's won 2-4 freestyling tournaments. And then we also have Anthony who's coming, who is B+. But there's a lot of really exciting players at Stockton too. The Top Cheese Bussy partnership is as strong as ever, and going into the final year of Bussy's career, Bussy's grinding so much, like more focused Brian than I've seen. I mean, that I've seen this last year. He's so much more focused, I think. But next year is going to be all fireworks for sure.
Yeah. So we've kind of brought up six man's ranks a lot. What do you think of the current six-man situation? I put out a poll on Twitter, and I was asking, what do you guys think the main problem is? The big thing that most people agreed with was that the MMR requirements aren't in a good spot. And then the other two were they just didn't quite have the knowledge to run what they're trying to run. And the last place one was they were just short-staffed. Because I think there's, only 3 or 4 people that are officially working for six mans.
Yeah. I mean, I could kind of talk about like without upsetting anyone's feelings. I think the main reason with six mans like not really working for some people. I think that going from rank C to rank B is nuts because you can literally be any rank C player, promo into rank B. Yeah, you can get queued into fucking Wonder Mike. It's not fair. Like literally, it's kind of just like literally, it's there. I think there should be. I don't know if they need to make another rank necessarily, or maybe increase what rank D is, and then make rank C like make the limit go up if you get what I mean. But I think that rank B, me being a rank B player, when I queue, I don't know if I'm gonna play Purge RL, if I'm gonna play like T-Var and Alaraz. Like literally, it's insane. There's a rank B. There's better players in rank B than there is in B+ right now, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Kevdog? What do you think the situation is?
I agree with a lot of what Valkyrie said. I do think that there should be some common sense when it comes to back in either October or February, I forgot which month it was, there was a reset that a lot of rank A and X players went down to rank B, such as Wunda Mike, Allraz, T-Var. And I think it should have been more common sense that these high bubble scene, low RLCS level players should still be in those high ranks, such as rank A or X, because they've proven themselves for what, years now, and they've set them down to the same level as a lot of 1700s, where that mismatch between RLCS and 1700 is there's such a big skill gap. I definitely think that there should have been some placement for these players, and that could have been done by a player council such as the rank X or rank I believe there's a rank A council as well, but I'm not 100% sure where their mindset was at when they
So
sent a lot of these players down into rank B.
the issues with the councils, and this is like the issues with the councils, in my opinion, is like they're also secretive. If the councils weren't so secretive, then you actually like rank X council. It's hard to know exactly who's on rank X council. I mean, I can tell you the one person on rank X council, Sosa. There you go. That's the only person I know. But like other than that, and that's because he works for 6 months. But other than that, it's hard to tell who's on the councils. And Kev, would you agree with me by most of the councils is all friend groups? Like you're not friends with that friend group, you're literally getting voted out of X no matter if you're 8-2.
be able to agree. Yes, I've heard a lot of rumors that the Rank X Council is a giant friend group that if you're not part of it, then you are going to go down to Rank A, or you are going to have a very hard time even getting a chance to go into Rank X. But because I'm not that rank, I wouldn't be able to speak on it that much.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. And also like rank B, it's hard to rank B is also so vast, and it's rank B is cool though because playing against pros is sometimes exactly what you need. And before getting into rank B, like if I had any advice at someone like how to get into rank B is that they're just like you got to get mechs because rank C is a war zone. That honestly, like if you think like Ohio is a bad state, like imagine like surviving 24 hours in rank C. Like someone should try to do that and see if they survive.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm hearing from the bubble scene at large is just six mans isn't balanced well. I think it honestly goes back to the MMR thing that the Epic did when they made it free to play. I don't know. I talked about this on Pale Riders podcast. But do you guys know what the starting MMR is for brand new accounts?
On what?
Start,
On what? Like Rocket League?
Yeah.
I believe
No, what
starting
is it?
MMR is 100 MMR. And then depending on your placements, you can either go down to 0. I know there is MMR below 0. I've seen it happen before. You can go below 0 in MMR as far as I'm aware, but I believe
That
starting
happens to
is
you?
100.
Valk,
Yeah.
you said 100?
He said, "Yeah." That's just-
You said 100, Kevdog?
Yeah, I believe it is 100
Uh,
MMR
Valkyrie, what
starts.
do you think it is? Sorry, I'm about to drop some
um,
knowledge here.
I think it's like what 450, 500.
It is 600 MMR. You
Jesus.
start the game in gold 3, almost plat 1.
That doesn't, I mean, they have the tutorial in the very beginning, but that doesn't teach you that much. That teaches you how to
Yeah.
drive and jump and boost. That doesn't, I mean, that's the basics
Yeah, drive and
for
jump and
crazy.
boost with the
everything.
control scheme that you should immediately change as well.
Yeah, the terrible default settings, by the way. These
Yeah.
default settings gotta
So,
go. They gotta change it.
I think this is something that the root problem is actually, it stems a little bit deeper. I think it would make 1750, I think it does make sense if that MMR, if people were starting out in the proper ranks, because you can get, if you just get lucky, you can basically do your placements. And if you get carried through 6 of your matches, you're starting almost in Diamond 1, fresh off the game, just for getting lucky enough to queue up with people who can carry somebody who is brand new at the game. And so when you filter that problem out throughout the entire game, I think that's part of why ranked is so toxic. And I think that problem, just because it filters out through all the ranks, I think that's another contributing factor to rank B being the situation that it is now. So I think that's part of the problem, just going a little bit deeper. So I don't think it's entirely on six mans. I think part of it has to do with that change right there. So Kevdog, are you surprised that people are starting out that high?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you think of like a new player, say CS:GO, you're starting in Silver 4, which is still the bottom of the barrel if you look at all the CS:GO ranks. I believe it's either Silver 3 or Silver 4. That's where that's the roundabout of where you're starting. If you're queuing with your friends that are in Silver, that's going to be the roundabout where that level is going to be playing, unless you're playing with a higher friend. But for Rocket League, starting in gold is insane because at least gold has a lot of understanding of how to play the, like, not a lot but a little bit of understanding of how to play the game. You at least know how to drive, you at least know how to hopefully how to aerial.
Or at least
But
that's the way it used to be.
yeah, that's the way it used to be back in before this Epic game free to play. If you were in gold, you would know how to aerial, maybe not fast aerial, but at least how to aerial halfway up the pitch in order to hit the ball. Nowadays, it seems like a lot of diamond and champ players aren't even able to fast aerial. They're not able to half flip, which that used to be like a common mechanic for those ranks. You used to be able to know how to half flip and how to fast aerial at diamond. At least that's how it should have been in order for you to progress.
Yeah, I think it's a big problem. I think one of the easier ways to fix it, I think especially when Unreal 5 comes out, is to introduce a campaign mode to where, like, and this goes into a lot of different things that you could do with it, but like taking your big content creators, like maybe having like choose Team Musty versus Team Sunless Con, and like have creators join each team and like you be coached on like what shadowing is. Like here's how to do a half volley and have some basics taught within the game in a fun manner. I think also that would discourage Smurfs if you made it required before you hop into rank, if you had to spend, 15, 20 hours learning the basics again. But I think that would be just very good for the game because you aren't going to influence the meta per se, because honestly, there isn't a meta below champ. It's because nobody really knows what they're doing, and that kind of filters out. But I think that would just be a very simple way to help solve this problem in general. And then also just lower the starting MMR. I think they kind of overreacted trying to stop Smurfs, that they just unintentionally carried a bunch of players and made it worse. So what do you guys think about that? Having a campaign mode to kind of teach the basics and teach some of these fundamental mechanics, as well as just a general idea about positioning and rotation for the game modes.
I mean, I personally like wouldn't. That's interesting. I'm like kind of still thinking about that actually, like right now in my mind.
Yeah.
It's interesting. No, that's interesting. I've never heard someone actually say that. I personally wouldn't play it because like I don't know. I personally wouldn't play it, but for the new players, I definitely think that can be like that could be pretty cool for them, honestly. I think if they could maybe involve RLCS in the campaign too, and maybe like involve RLCS, that can draw more viewers for RLCS. So I think that can be a good idea.
Oh yeah, there's so many things you could do with it to like
Yeah,
introduce
no, that
introduce
opens up a
Rocket
lot
League
of
culture.
possibilities. That opens up opportunities for sponsors to get involved in the campaign. That opens up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think the
Now,
big thing is
how
it
about
just
counter?
introduces like you can introduce Rocket League culture too. I think that's the other big thing they can do.
I actually
with
have
it.
a counter for that.
No, this isn't Pokemon. You can't just counter. No, I'm joking.
All right, go for it. Go for it.
They actually like to be fair. They actually kind of have, at least on Steam, they used to have achievements. If you remember those 88 achievements, used to be
Mhm.
80. They added 8 more, and then they have those achievements for the exhibition modes,
Mhm.
and that technically was supposed to be like a campaign. You play against bots in order to learn how the game works. You go through like a season, almost like FIFA type season, where you have this X amount of games. You play these. You play and you start in a group. You go into
You make the
semifinals.
Yeah.
you make the Champions League.
You make the Prem League.
No,
Yeah.
no, you just make the Champions League.
The,
Yeah.
the only problem with that, I actually explored that mode recently just to kind of see what it was. So I was like, I've never done this before. And the problem is that the bots don't know how to rotate. They group up
Yeah.
in the corner. And so that's not.
Imagine if you could have pro
But, yeah.
bots. Imagine you could have pro bots. I know this is random, and I know this is just like out of there. But
Yeah.
imagine you could have pro bots. Imagine how insane that can be. That would be so easy for them to program. They can use so many replays of so many pros and put together a bot. And imagine just being able to like. Yeah, sorry.
I was about to say, you know about Nexto, don't you?
A little bit, but I'm saying
No,
like imagine they put it like in the game. That makes it so much easier for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nexto and RL Gym.
Yeah, I think if they brought something like that in and like actually had like some basic rotation and like program the bots,
I think
to
the
actually work
pros would
together,
get
yeah.
exposed though. Honestly, I think the pros would get leveled out if people can play bots. People can play bots against pros. That actually might not be fair though for the RLCS pros because then like
Yeah.
just people know how they play.
It's the old Christmas league or the Christmas team from way back in the day that
Oh
nobody
my
beat.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throwback to
Oh.
that old Lethamere video if anybody remembers that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
No, go ahead.
I was about to say, so you guys think that's something that would be possible with Unreal 5? Do you think that's an overall good idea or
It
just
just
something
matters
to be
if Epic's.
explored?
I think it's a good idea. It just matters if like Epic needs to. They
Execute
can't.
well.
Yeah, they can't half-ass it. They gotta do it. They gotta jump the gun on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I'm kind of thinking it's a bad idea only because I don't think they'd be able to go about it correctly. I don't think that they'd be able to create a campaign that would teach all the new players how to properly play the game. So if they do start at 600, then they'd at least be able to play at that 600 MMR level, so the gold level. But I don't think they'd be able to on it. Like if this happens one day, good for them. But I don't think that they'd actually be able to program it properly to where it teaches you like Halo campaign or like a Call of Duty campaign.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah, it does. It does take them 8 months to get me CRL tags. To be fair,
Mhm.
no,
Yeah.
no hate to the guys. No hate to the guys. I love Shiest. I love Marty. But it does take a little bit for the tags to get to players.
Well, that's actually an entirely separate department, and they have to
Yeah, yeah,
email
yeah,
that.
yeah,
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 that's
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah. Still though, it's part of Rocket League.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's definitely something that would be fun to have. I'm trying to get a Shiest on here, so I've DM'd him. I'd love to have you on and just kind of talk about the esports in general. But yeah,
He's
I'm
a great
definitely
guy.
reaching out to some psionics people, trying to get them on the podcast. I think, if not mine, I just think having more communication and conversation, even if it's nothing official, just the impression that they're here listening to the community would be good.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. I definitely like want to start striving for the psionics reps to start talking a little bit more, such as getting in conversations with content creators. I definitely think that'll be good for the esport, good for the game overall, and it can give a pathway to where psionics and the community can start talking back and forth besides on Twitter, their forums, or on Reddit. Because I definitely think a lot of that can get taken out of context or taken into a completely different realm of what it was supposed to be at its core.
Yeah, so I think this leads into a good next topic. I proposed this back when T-Bates did his first little like Twitter space thing. How do you guys feel about having a player council for CRL, esports, like competitive, just having people that represent the community that interact with psionics? And how do you guys think that could be created if it should? And then how would you choose who's on that player council? Because I think one of the biggest
I honestly think
things.
it would be so chaotic. That I think it's a good idea, but sadly, I think you know what I think it would be.
What do you think it would be?
I think it would end up like the six man's council. I have to say that, but I think it would end up like the six man's council.
Well, I think this
I
if you made it public and like the community voted on it, and
Yeah, but
there
then
would
I feel
be
like it would be people with the most followers and stuff like that. I feel like how it is now is actually like a lot of people don't know this, but how CCA and how CRL kind of works, like if there is issues and if you have like good comments, like I actually did have a comment to them about their format and about the game times, and they genuinely changed the game times. It wasn't just me, of course, that said to them, "Hey, change your game times." But still, it's just like I feel like CRL they're actually really striving to do a lot of stuff, and the reason why is because it's colleges working with them and the people working. There's a lot of really good people working for colleges. I mean, like Stockton's doing great, and just to name a couple, like St. Clair, they're also doing amazing. Ohio State University, they're doing great. Miami University, they're doing great. Like, there's a lot of really good colleges working in CRL right now. So I think that like how CRL is set up now, there are a lot of the esports directors get to directly comment with the Psionics guys, which it helps, especially having people with a little bit more experience in education and stuff like that making those decisions. I think it definitely helps.
yeah. So there's almost already a players council to an extent within CRL, and you think that's why it's going in the right direction. Is that what
Yeah,
you're
I
saying?
definitely think so. Yeah, I also think like after CRL Worlds, I mean like I think CRL Worlds created so much media. Oh my god, like there was so many 0 second goals, so many like good stories as well. But like I think that like CRL is really going in. Like there's so many more teams than there was before Worlds. It's insane, but like I think that it is really going in the right direction. It's really exciting to see, and it makes me really happy to see as well. And I mean, I'm a freshman, so I'm only just beginning to see where this goes, but I definitely think that it's going in the right direction because of that.
How do you think we could translate that to like the bubble scene? Because I think that's where the pro scene, like they're going to get listened to, but the bubble scene, the big complaints that we have that I think are legitimate is the seeding. There's always one death bracket and at least one Mickey Mouse bracket per split, where teams that should be fighting each other on at very least day 2, if not day 3, are playing each other first round. Like I think 26 Rising and Gentlemen played each other like round 2 of day 1.
Yeah, I remember that. That
Uh,
was bad. That was really
like
bad.
that
So
seeding, I was just like, man, I'm glad I'm not in that bracket. And then we were joking around as a team. It's like, yeah, we weren't good enough to be in that death bracket, but
So I have a couple friends that are actually like the tournament admins for Psionics for when it comes to these splits and everything. Because I am a tournament operator myself. I've been doing tournament operations since 2018 with playing with Rockets, and I've met a lot of these other operators that work with Psionics that do the seeding and everything and the behind the scenes stuff for them. And it definitely comes down to a lot of things. There's definitely always going to be that death bracket. You cannot when it's over 500 teams or over 400 teams or whatever, you're not going to be able to seed every single one of them perfectly, even at a higher level, such as the bubble scene right now, to where we have Gentlemen, 26 Rising, Limitless, and all that. You're never going to be able to because any of those teams can either fail and do miserably on the past couple splits or even the last the last split. That so many things come into account that the seeding will always change over and over. I honestly do think that the seeding can be better given the account that they have to take. I think they have to take more into effect of more bubble tournaments as well, to where there's the teams like Limitless, Gentlemen, 26 Rising are playing in like tactical banditry. Tactical banditry is such a good tournament organization for these upper bubbles, like not upper, but like middle to higher level bubble scene teams such as Limitless and Gentlemen, because it shows the extent of what they can do against these other teams. And overall, I think they just haven't been able to prove themselves against teams like a Crew, Torrent, Ghost
Mhm.
Gaming, because there's not enough grassroots organizations that are able to pull those teams in. They would have to either shell out thousands and thousands of dollars every single month, or just have to wait for those splits for day three and close qualifiers to happen. That's the only time I think that those teams are able to prove themselves to where they're able to get the proper seeding that they deserve. I always think that those Mickey Mouse brackets and those death brackets are going to happen regardless, though.
Yeah,
So
also like being on Continuum, we literally when we were in Continuum and RLCSX, we played Stromboli 3 straight qualifiers in a row.
Every single time, first round.
Every single time.
Feels so funny.
It was disgusting. And so here's the thing I say.
A lot of it is by points, so we can't really get mad at them. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of it, like the seating, the Gentleman, that bracket, I'm pretty sure that was supposedly random. I don't know why, but supposedly it was random because that's fair for everyone. But that's not fair for everyone. It's random. Um, I mean, it is, but it isn't at the same time. But I definitely think like the death brackets will probably still happen. There'll always be one. The Mickey Mouse brackets will happen. But I think that like when it comes to RLCS seeding, I think that they could probably do more in terms of like reaching out to like former coaches or maybe former pro players, and maybe not, I mean like just help giving them the help with the seeding, because I feel like they have a better knowledge of seeding than anybody that would work for Psionics would. You know what I mean? Because they've been in the scene.
yeah, this is my proposed solution, and this is also like kind of my idea of what I think RLCS needs to go towards. Just because we're starting to have actual depth in the regions, is I think have 3 qualifiers at the very start, and then have like a 32 team Swiss type league situation. So like have qualifier 1 in the top 8 advance, and then have qualifier 2 and have the top 8 advance from that, and then qualifier 3, and like have only the top 8 teams be safe for the entire split. So that way you can kind of get these bubble teams experience against the top 16 teams without it just being once. And I think that will help grow the scene in general if we're starting to put those teams up, because that's where a lot of teams struggle to get better with, is because they can only play teams at their own level. They kind of get good at their level, but they soon as they face a team that's above that, they're being punished for mistakes that they weren't before. And so they get all the way to day 3, and then now they can maybe have a good series and learn those things. Versus I think if you make it an entire split, one, it eliminates the problem of the death brackets, because you're moving, okay, these 8 teams made it. So now the next qual, those 8 teams have already succeeded. And now you have 8 teams that are no longer going to be a part of any bracket. And so the next actual 8 teams, so even if there was a death bracket, half of them make it through. And then that's less teams to cause those situations. What do you guys think about something like that?
There
Yeah,
was always a lot of complaints about RLCSX because of how much play there was. I remember a lot of top teams were
Grid.
communicating,
The
yeah,
grid.
with Grid.
I
where
was literally
how-
just about to say something.
yeah.
The grid. So I was on Continuum, and Continuum made the grid in the winter, and we like peaked to make the grid in the winter, and it was awesome because being in the grid that literally meant you got RLCS scrims for basically 2 months, and everyone treated you like kind of like an RLCS team for 2 months, and it really gave teams the opportunity to play to that level. And I think like what you were saying, the league, that's a great idea. If Psyonix doesn't want to do something that much effort and they want to do something less effort and just run the grid, that's something they've already did before. It'd be very easy to do with the structure. I also think they could run the grid with top 24, and that would give more organizations, better leverage to play against top teams. Think about it. If they did a top 24 grid, that would bring in so many more organizations.
Yeah, I think it also makes, if you qualify for an entire split versus one event, I think that also gives the bubble teams themselves more leverage because they're more marketable. It's like, hey, we're going to be on RLCS broadcasts for the next month. What do you want us to pay? What do you want to pay us for it?
Yeah,
And
exactly. It's like for the next 3 months, we're an RLCS team.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, it's like we can sign you for just this split, or we think you're good enough that you're going to make this split again. And so we'll just go ahead and sign you for this entire season.
Yeah, because the thing is if they don't sign you for the entire season, they literally at the end of it will get picked up by a better roster, which actually has happened before.
Yeah, and I think that's something that it'll give the bubble scene more stability as well.
Yeah. Coming out of I don't know if you remember this all the way back, basically before Oxygen. Do you guys remember what the Oregon, like what the team was before they were Oxygen?
Jamal Jabari.
It was under an org. You don't remember?
Ooh, wait, give me 1 second. I'd have to remember. What team was it? Oh my god.
Okay, right now, why is it troubling me now too?
I should know
because I
this.
remember they got picked up. What was it, two seasons ago?
Yeah.
Because they came up as top 16, and then they didn't make it, I think, for like the final split or something. But they kind of like showed like, hey, we're here.
BOSF Esports.
It was BOSF, and so what they did is they signed a 3-month deal, 4-month deal. They got out of that. They wanted to renegotiate, sign again. And then by the time that happened, Oxygen dropped their team and hit them up, and they were like, guys, Oxygen's called us. We'll talk to you all later. That's actually exactly what happened.
Yeah, and now apparently SSG is hitting up Oxygen's roster.
LJ?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Reddles for that clickbait on YouTube. That was genius.
No, it's it's
Yeah.
no, we know it's happening. I mean, in scrims we know it's happening. But
Yeah.
I think there's so many roster changes right now, so many people making rosters. I mean, literally, dude, I just saw on a scrim, never seen this roster in my entire life. So it was Tikaro, Wonder Mike, and Alaraz. Does that sound like a scary roster?
Yes, that sounds like
Yeah.
a team they're gonna pick up if they can get their chem together.
That was a pickup. They were doing pickup scrims. I don't know if they're doing any more scrims, but I think I saw them doing scrims, and I was like, holy crap, that's a sweaty team, dude. If I played against that team, I would literally not know what to do. Like, that's like really just like.
Yeah, I don't know how well that roster would do, just simply
I think
because
it would
they're
do really
all.
well.
Yeah, I think they kind of
They're all
run into
very
the same
mechanical.
problem that Dignitas did, where they're all very mechanical and they're all very solo play heavy, that they may not have enough boost. I think that's more placed like they're all definitely top 16 roster potential.
Actually, maybe not
But,
Alaraz. Alaraz changed his play style, so he's
Yeah.
not a Wonder Mike guy. When Wonder Mike has 100 boosts, the economy on the earth is soaring. Literally, I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Seen that meme where it's like when Wonder Mike gets boost, and it's like the economy, and it's like all ultra modern. But no, literally.
Yeah, they're all very scary players. I'm just interested to see how they would adapt their play styles to work as a team. They definitely have the potential. I'd just love to see. But they would
Wait, it
definitely
was
have to
Tikaro,
change their
Wonder Mike,
playing
and Alvarez,
styles to a
correct?
certain extent.
Yeah, T-Curl, Wonder Mike, and Alaraz. I mean, if Wonder Mike plays first man, T-Curl plays second man, and Alaraz plays third man. I could see that.
Honestly, I kind of see Wonder Mike playing third man and letting those first two chase to give him a free ball and
Maybe,
then let
yeah.
him 1v3 the other team while they're low
Y-
boost.
The
That's how
only
I
reason I
see.
don't think
That's how
he's
I would see
trying to
that
play more
roster
as a
being built.
first man. After he played with E United, I know he's trying to play more with the
Mhm.
first man because at E United he was trying to get more solo play opportunity. I like that old E United team.
Mhm.
Tristan, him, and Ajax
Yeah,
should have kept that. They should have kept that.
yeah. Ajax is. I think he had. Didn't he have something like IRL happen to where he couldn't grind as much for a bit? But like, if that didn't happen, and I think he's back on the grind now. Like honestly, if they had just supported that team a little more, I could see them making more main events and actually
With
making
Savvy Seal?
majors. Yeah,
I think without Savvy Seal they can do it. I
yeah,
love Savvy, but like I don't know. I just think like it's been a while as well, and like they've
yeah.
waited for the results and hasn't come. I feel like they could replace him with like any rank X person would do much better.
I will say this: I'm very glad Savvy actually got picked up because it gave him the opportunity to play at that level.
It did, and
Because
everyone's been saying, "Yo, Savvy can play at that level." Blah blah
yeah,
blah.
the
I
last
mean, this was an opportunity.
the last time he was actually playing at that high level was triple commit Sway Esports back in 2018, 2019, all the way up until 2020. As soon as Savvy Seal, Brogreg, and Adverse Meteor broke up, that was when everything started going a little bit downhill for Savvy. We started not really hearing him all that much. He was on triple commit, we shoot greens and all mid, but we wasn't seeing that much out of him. Besides maybe in the field, if you remember that
Yep.
season 2 through 6, he
Hmm.
was playing in the field a lot. He was doing a bunch of invitationals, but as soon as he joined E United, he actually was able to step up. He showed that he was able to play at that level. Although they didn't get the response that they wanted truly, because they were getting a lot of hate. They were getting a lot of dislike towards Savvy, and because Savvy and Rogreg were friends for a very long time, I definitely think Rogreg had a lot of pull when it came to choosing that third player for it being Savvy. But I do think that it was a great idea, and it gave them a lot of publicity. E United got a lot of followers, a lot of publicity, a lot of earnings from that, just because they did something nobody else was expecting until it happened.
Yeah, I mean that's the first time I had even heard of E United at that point, and so that definitely was a good business move at the start. I'm honestly surprised they just didn't support that roster more in the long run. I think they kind of squandered that opportunity, honestly.
With who, Ajax?
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
that team I think they could have made top 8 if they had supported them enough. I don't know
Not with
who would
Savvy.
they.
I don't think without Savvy. I think if they were playing with someone like Knight or they were playing with someone like T. Corell, yes.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe even Sosa.
Hmm.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you. I think Ajax could be a top player.
Yeah. What do you think is the big limiting factor for teams? Do you think it's team composition and play styles meshing, or do you think it's having
Mentality.
a coach that can formulate with those play styles? What do you think is a bigger factor there? Obviously,
People liking each other is a huge thing. There's a huge example of literally just people not getting along, even though they would play super well with each other. You know what I mean?
mhm.
But also, like, yeah, personalities, friend groups, mentality, certain coaches thinking certain players are good. I know there's a huge mix of stuff. Kevin,
I
what do you
don't.
got to say about that?
I think mentality and overall just the consistency of the team, because we see teams always have such a great players. They have such like a great pickup. We go into X set, we could say, I guess.
Mhm.
Let's go into X set. They picked up J Powell, Hawks, or Percy. 3 players, all great players in individual rights, but they did not get a lot going as soon as they picked them up. Like back in 2020, it was JPOW, Percy, Rapid. Rapid went to Shopify, I believe,
Mhm.
which was KCP at the time. And then they picked up, help me here, sorry,
He said,
Hawkster.
"Help me
Yeah,
here."
Hawkster. They picked up Hawkster. In the meantime, in order to cover that, no, it was JPOW, Hawkster, and Rapid. No, it wasn't Rapid. What am I talking about?
Yeah, Rapid coaches the Kings now, I think.
No, it was Allraz. It was
Okay.
JPOW.
Alaraz.
It was JPOW, Hawkster, Allraz. Allraz went to Stromboli. They picked up Percy. They dropped Hawkster and picked up Rapid, and now Rapid's on Xset.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
guys think is the big determining factor for rosters? Do you think orgs need to take more control of it or leave it to the players and the coach?
I think orgs need to take control. It's their money. They're spending the money in order to provide these teams with a home, and these teams are providing for that organization. They're promoting that organization, and if that org does not, from a business standpoint, have more control over that team, then where is this going? Because it's like saying the Green Bay Packers, the organization can drop any player at any time if they are not liking what that player is doing, and that player's just gonna have to suck it up. That team's just gonna have to suck it up and move with a new player, and that's because they're not performing. If a player is not performing, that player is gonna get dropped by the team, whether that's the team's decision or whether that's the business decision. I think overall, as a business, you're always going to be wanting to strive for number one. And that's what happens for a lot of organizations when they're not getting that number one. They're starting to drop they're starting to drop players. They're starting to pick up players. They're going through these roster manias when in reality, they just need to settle. They need to work together. Teams are not going to be at number one overnight. They need to go and they need to work together for maybe years. Like Energy right now, they're not doing so hot as they were back at the beginning of the year, back at in 2021 over online season. But they're still a great team, and they're going to be proving that hopefully going forward because they've been together with so long.
Granted, NRG set the standard for a long time, and so
Oh, absolutely.
everybody's just caught up to NRG and kind of passed them, and so they kind of had momentum to get better. Versus NRG, there was nobody to really push them to be better up until this point. Honestly, I think that's
Yeah.
part of it. They were kind of used to being on top and teams trying to play up to them, and now teams have finally done that, and so now they're in that other position where now they're the ones trying to catch up. And I think once they catch up, they're going to peak again and then carry that momentum into setting the standard once more if they stick around.
I think something that could go to be said is that relationships involving managers, coaches, and orgs goes very well. Like every org I've been involved with has went very well because I mean the players, the org, we're all just very vocal and then kind of just talk about everything. Like if something's going on, we'll talk about it with the org. I think the org taking control could be a little bad in terms of benching players, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I
You
definitely
that
think it
should be
is
a
the
coach
org's money.
decision?
I don't even agree with benching players in the first place because like let a player be free. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, yeah, I think it should be a coach's decision.
Yeah. So you think that for Rocket League to succeed as an esport, the orgs need to take more control and put more trust in coaches. Kind of
I
like
mean,
what Accelerate's doing right now with I can never pronounce his
Bronskin.
name.
Bronskin.
Yeah, Ronskin. Do you think that's going to be the future of Rocket League? Them finding a coach and then that coach developing a team?
I don't.
I don't know if it's gonna be the future, but what I would say to that, here's what I will say. I love Ronskin. I think he's a great manager and great coach. I think that they're gonna pick up a team that's probably gonna be about like top 16. Like as good as the last team, probably actually a lot better than the last team. I don't think it's gonna be the future of Rocket League because like there are other orgs listening to their players' coaches. Scuzz, we work with Scholar, who is
Mhm.
working with our team. And there is also a lot of other examples in like RLCS of like Chrome working with SSG, blah blah blah. Well, not recently. I'm not gonna talk about SSG in the recent RLCS because we all know how that went.
Yeah.
So but yeah. Were you surprised by the way when that happened at all?
Are you talking about Reddles being kicked
What
or?
I was most shocked about is the fact that they have a mental coach and that didn't help at all. Because like Flow State, I know Flow State. He's like a
Mhm.
really good mental coach. He probably just didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think with that situation, he also got brought on for a very short period of time. So I
Yeah.
think that I don't think he had enough time to truly make an impact because mental health it's all about establishing healthy habits. And you can't do that in a month. Like you can kind of get a little bit of a boost, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think he
yeah.
had enough time to make the impact on that team that he could have. If he was brought on at the very beginning of the season, I don't even think the whole Reddles thing would have happened. But that's
Honestly,
my speculation.
I honestly don't know if they should have dropped. I think, like, I've heard a rumor that there was something that Flow State themselves did in order to be dropped. I think they think business decision or something like that. But I think if that was not what it was, I think they should have kept him. He'd still be with Daniel and Arsenal.
What the
And
hell?
I definitely think that a mental coach is very important for this game because, like I said earlier, mentality is almost number one, if not top three, for what you need to focus on in this game. Because without a good mentality, you're not going to be able to be a good player whatsoever.
Yeah, I think mentality mechanics are the baseline that you have to be to really even compete. And then I think to be at the top, you got to have strategy, or at least that's where it's headed. Uh, so I think it's Rocket League teams are going to start having those mental coaches and those mechanical coaches as well as the strategy coaches.
So
I think
what's
they're going to
nice is
start playing more roles.
I think that managers are gonna can transition into mental coaches if they study it, and like if it depending on the manager, because like I mean I'm not saying that like I'm a mental coach at all, but I do definitely try to orchestrate a lot of team bonding on all the teams I have, and I try to orchestrate very healthy like teammate things, like trying to play other games with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, developing that chemistry and that friendship.
Like you were
Healthy
saying,
work environment.
healthy
Yeah.
work environments. Yeah.
I think it's one thing to be a manager. I think is going to eventually, like, we're trying to have a hybrid role with the manager now, and I think those are eventually going to split into a pure mental coach and a pure managerial role.
Oh yeah, I definitely
because those
I
take two
definitely agree.
different personality types.
Eventually though, in a couple of years.
Yeah, they take two
There's way too
different
many
personality
managers.
types. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
there's way too many managers trying to be one type of manager that they are not able to. And I've seen it so many
what do you
times. People are
mean?
trying to go for these rank A, rank X when they're trying to be a mental and business like manager, but at the end of the day the manager and the coach are kind of the glue that hold the team together. They're like the backbone of the team because they're the one that kind of orchestrates their scrims. They're the one that orchestrates like helping them stay on track in order to progress. And a lot of these managers are trying to just get the clout going for these high levels without the experience that they need in order to be able to help these teams. They're just trying to do it for them and not trying to do it to help the team become a better team, to help the players become better themselves. I think they're just trying to do it just because they want a little bit more clout. And I
I think
definitely
that's
think as a
definitely
manager,
true. I
that's
think that's
not
definitely
the
true
way
for
to go.
some managers, Kev. But I think like right now the current scene, like for all the managers, I think that's not as common anymore. I think during like RLCS, like the big middle of RLCS 11, especially with all the bright drama and everything that happens. But I think that like now, other than one person that Kevin and I are both probably thinking about as the same person,
Yep.
who definitely uses his team for clout, who we will not name. But other than that, I can't actually think of one other person, in my opinion. I think that it is much better. I think that the manager community is something that not actually a lot of people know about. It's actually like I think it's such a strong knit community. All the managers know each other. All the managers are extremely friendly to each other, and like after every time they play, everyone always says like GG's, and also like we have like community hangout nights. Like all the managers are chill with each other. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the manager community, that's something that I've learned just from being a coach in the bubble scene is it seems like the managers are all friends with each other and it's more so like the teams that
So
ego each
there is
other.
a some of it is the manager's ego each team without even asking their own team.
Yeah.
That used that it's not more prominent now, but it used to happen a lot during RLCSX and early RLCS this season, like this past season. It used to happen a lot where the manager wouldn't even ask the team, and we'd have one of our players ask the opposite team, be like, "Hey, did they ever contact you? Like, yo, we're boys. Why are we not screaming? We're on the same level." And it's not even an egotistical thing. It's just they didn't even ask. They didn't even ask the team. They would just deny immediately because they don't like one manager or another. There used to be a lot of manager drama back in early 2021, late 2021, early 2022. There was a lot of drama between managers, and that's because maturity levels were not there. And I think we're starting.
There's one or two managers as
There's a
well that like to
Yeah,
stir up a little bit of drama and like to
yeah.
troll people and say, "Hey, it's just a prank bow," while they're insulting people. But it's just like, and again, the manager community kicked them out, and they're no longer a part of that community. But that's why I think that like the manager community, honestly, like You talk about like the RLCS Pro environment. Would you say it's pretty toxic, JC?
I would say
A little bit.
It's kind of weird. There's the pro community that's professional and is like actually going places, and then there's the people with egos that
So that's what I
aren't
mean.
going anywhere.
I feel like in the manager community, it is so one-sided. I feel like there is a really like I mean like Kev, even when I DM like people like RLCS teams, they all say like no, thank you, we're good. Like we have normal partners. I feel like it's more common for better teams and their managers not responding to
There's a
people.
lot
I
of
feel like it
there's a lot of professionalism in higher level managers. If they do respond, there's a lot of more
I feel like they
professional.
used to ego. I feel like in RLCS X they used to ego. They used to not even
Oh, all the time.
respond all
All
the
the time.
time.
There's
But now
three
like they
managers I'm
definitely
thinking about
respond.
that would not respond whatsoever. Even if you were like in the grid per se, you wouldn't even be able to touch them unless you were consistently getting grid. You were consistently getting top 4 or top 6, and they weren't even on that level yet. You like unless you were there, they didn't want to talk to you. But the manager scene overall has been getting 10 times better, 10 times more professional, and I definitely think that comes down to that one manager Discord that we all have, that we're able to talk, communicate, and try just to help each other out as much as possible. That when we started that with Josh and Ghost, when they started that Discord, that was the main goal at the very end of the day, was who can we help become a better manager? Who can we help to for these managers to progress throughout the scene? And I've used it many times. Valkyrie, I'm sure you've used that resource many times. And a lot of these managers are starting to become professionals and starting to become better people just because that this group that we've created as a manager scene, like not even Bubble,
Yeah,
Pro, Academy, just the manager scene itself has just been there for each other. Like with this recent Bright situation, I'm not going to go into it, but so many people were all close together
yeah,
because
but like okay,
something happened. Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest about that situation. And this is something I've wanted to say for a while. The person that reported it is also the person that reported it being false. So I'm sorry to say this, but like the way I viewed that situation is that them saying that he passed was so premature. They didn't get enough knowledge. I think it was immature. I think the person who reported it, who I know who it is, I'm not going to explain. I'm not going to say who. I think the person who reported it is very immature because the person who reported it is the person that ended up saying that he is still alive. So it's kind of like he. I'm not saying that he impression farmed by doing that, but like if you think about it, he kind of lied and then lied again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the manager scene is like the first one that where all the environmental pressures has forced people to be professional, and so it's kind of weeded the unprofessionals out.
There's just a couple of again, Kevin.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about, literally that exact scenario I'm talking about. Literally, there's a couple few individuals that are
There's a
just
couple that we know that we try
the
to stay our
and
best
it's
away
you know what it
from.
is, and you know what it is. Everyone knows, and everyone knows, and everyone just it's just a thing. Everyone knows.
Yeah, I'm just ready for. I don't think it will ever happen entirely in the pro scene until orgs get more control over their teams. But I think for that to happen, they've got to start building their teams and making them top 16 versus just picking up top 16 teams.
Oh, it's
Yeah, I
hard
agree. And
because
that's what Scuzz is doing. That's what Scuzz is doing with us. They picked up Eris and Saya and they're like, we want you guys to continue tryouts while you play and we're gonna support you guys. Um which I think is something that not all the orgs are doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're just looking for the team that's already there, and I think that's
Yeah,
where.
and I think that's like the cheap solution, you know what I mean? Like Scuzz wants to build something that's gonna last and they want to support these players so that they can do what they want, but I totally agree with you.
I definitely think it's much harder than it would be in other esports per se because it's such a small team. So instead of these 4 or 5 player teams, to where if one player is not holding up their weight, you're able to notice that immediately. But Rocket League is such a team-based game that every player affects one another. So if one player's off, another player's off, and that just ruins the entire team. So I definitely think if this was going to go forward, I'm not saying we should go 4v4 or 5v5. Please, let's let that discussion die. Rocket League is good where it is for 3v3, but
Where did that come from? I actually don't know where that came from.
I
Who
believe
Lethemir
started
made a
that
map.
discussion?
Lethmir made a map that was for 4v4, and it was for a modded YouTube video. I believe that video is going to be coming out soon if it hasn't came out
Yeah,
already.
it's already out.
It's already out, gotcha. But then a lot of people started getting together, being like, "Yeah, we should make Rocket League 4v4." I'm like, "We have it's chaos. There's not enough boost on the map."
Wait, who? Wait, people have been saying like
Like a
they.
lot of people have been going on Twitter, a lot of content creators, a lot of random people that have like 12 followers on Twitter have just been going, "We should make Rocket League a 4v4." I'm just like, listen, if Rocket League was supposed to be a 4v4 game, they would have made that the main game for chaos. Rocket League is made to be a 3v3, 2v2, and a 1v1 game, and that's because the map size is so small, the boost is so small, and it makes everything such a tight knit team play style that everyone affects each other. If one person's off, everyone's off. You
Yeah.
cannot properly carry someone. Well, you can, but you cannot properly be an anchor for the team to where if you are completely on, everybody's completely on. There's always going to be that one factor that's going to knock somebody off.
Yeah, I do think the current map size does need to be a little bit bigger. Just looking at it from a coaching perspective, like everything is already so tight. There's really not much risk sending your first man to challenge just because second man's already so close. I think making the field size a little bit bigger for the pro scene would be good, just so that way, if you're committing your third man, that's a commitment for the most part. Versus now, it's like the players are so fast that if you're keeping your momentum up, you can kind of commit as third man. And if that pass doesn't come exactly how you need it, you can already be back on the side of the field to stop the ball going in.
I like it though because it creates that fast pace
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
rocket
I'm about to say they made it.
fast
Yeah.
pace. That creates that fast paced play style and that gameplay that everyone loves watching. Because if you go back to when all these new mechanics like the ceiling shot, the flip reset,
Mhm.
all that stuff was going on, you would see everybody so spread out because as the game developed, everyone started playing more fluidly instead of a rotation like one goalkeeper,
Yeah.
two people, one striker, one defender. Like that's how it used to be played, but now it's so much more fluid that I definitely think it creates that better gameplay as we are progressing. In the future, can I see a map size get bigger or like a different type of map get installed into Rocket League? Yes, but do I think that's years down the line? Absolutely. I don't think that should be anything recent.
Yeah, I just would like to see it tried because it just gives
Lester,
a
if you're
little bit.
listening, let us
Uh,
know.
yeah,
We would love to be a part of it, all three of us.
yeah, I would love to see it just to give just a little bit more space for players to make decisions and to not be insta challenged every single time you're touching the ball. I think giving just that little bit more space and making those challenges a little bit more committal and the positioning that much more important and having to cover that much more space. I just think that gives a little bit more strategy to the
It
game and
matters
not just mechanics.
if you have players that can play on a press, it really
Yeah.
matters.
So that's just my opinion. I'd love to see a bigger field just to try it out. I just want to be able to implement more strategy into the game. I think Lethamir's map would be perfect for like 5v5. I think it was a little bit big for 4v4, but I would just love to have that map be a 5v5 and maybe like an expedition type league. Definitely not RLCS or main game because most people don't know how to play Rocket League to begin with. 5v5 would be absolute chaos.
Yeah,
But I think having like a 5v5 pro teams, like where they actually had like if we got 8 teams together of like pro players of 5v5 and like got the brightest minds to like coach them and like develop strategies, I think that would be absolutely so much fun to watch.
So kind of like a Beyond the Summit type thing where they did like 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, all the way up to a 5v5 maybe? So like you would have like these teams get together and these players get
Mhm.
together for these expeditional matches that truly mean nothing until you get to 3v3 and 2v2. But like we would be able to see all these different types of strategies come out back then. I want Beyond the Summit to come back. I really do. Those were so fun. Like all those ESL stuff
Oh yeah,
was so fun.
all the extra stuff.
Yeah.
But
It's great content. It was great to watch.
yeah, I just think having an organized 5v5 like league of pro players with the coaches strategizing and being like, okay, we're going to play with 3-man forward and play a 3-1-1 or play, a 2-2-1 or, like the different levels and it be a little bit more like hockey. I think that would be very fun to watch. But I don't think that could make it into the game and be fun just because the average player doesn't know how to position in 3v3, let alone cover that much space as a team.
Yeah.
The coordination level just wouldn't work in ranked, I don't think. At least not right off the bat. But yeah, I guess we've covered quite a bit here. Is there any topics that you guys want to bring up before we close this episode out?
Valk?
Not really. I think we covered a really broad scores.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think a lot of the stuff that me and Valkyrie have worked on personally have been brought up, and a lot of great discussion has been held today.
Awesome. Well, do you guys have a social media or anything? This is your time for shameless plugs.
You can go first.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at KevdogRL. I have my own website that is on my Twitter, linked kevdogmanagement.com. You'd be able to find everything I've been able to do, all my projects, all my past experience. If you'd ever like to work with me, everything is found there. You can always DM me on Twitter or Discord. Everything's on my Twitter. And on my Twitch, I am a not so consistent Twitch streamer. I do it whenever I'm playing six-mans or whenever I just feel like streaming, just for personal benefit and personal sake. You can find me KevdogRL on that as well.
If you want to find me on Twitter, Valkyrie RL, but all I gotta say is go Ospreys, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. It's definitely been a lot of fun.
It's been great. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All right. Thank you guys for coming on. This was the On the Bubble podcast. Definitely check me out on YouTube. It's JC Hammer. Share with your friends. And if you haven't seen my dad jokes video, definitely go and watch it if you want to watch all your favorite content creators either laugh or cringe at some Rocket League based dad jokes. You guys have a good day.